The morning sun peeked through the clouds as Dr. Han Jai-yun stood in front of the old stone cottage. The small house had belonged to her grandmother, and now it was hers. The lawyer's letter had arrived 3 weeks ago, telling her about this surprise inheritance in the Yorkshire Dales. Jai-yun pulled her coat tighter against the cool spring air. She was used to the busy streets of London, where she worked as a physicist. This quiet countryside felt like another world. The only sounds were birds singing and sheep bleating in the distance. The old iron key felt heavy in her hand. It took a few tries to open the door, which creaked loudly. Inside, the cottage smelled of old books and dried flowers, just like she remembered from her childhood visits. "Everything is exactly the same," she whispered to herself. The old wooden furniture stood exactly where it had always been. Family photos hung on the walls, showing 3 generations of women with the same determined look in their eyes. Jai-yun touched one that showed her grandmother as a young woman, standing proudly in front of the cottage. Jai-yun spent the morning cleaning and opening windows to let in fresh air. In the kitchen, she found her grandmother's favorite teacup still sitting on the counter, as if waiting for one last cup of tea. Her throat felt tight as she carefully washed it and put it away. It was in the study that she found the first strange thing. Behind her grandmother's old desk, she discovered a loose wooden panel in the wall. Inside was a collection of leather-bound journals, their pages yellow with age. The newest one was dated just 2 months before her grandmother's death. Jai-yun sat in the old armchair and opened the first journal. Her grandmother's neat handwriting filled every page. But these weren't ordinary diary entries. They were detailed scientific observations, filled with dates, times, and careful notes about strange lights and unusual events in the valleys. April 15, 1975, she read aloud. "The lights appeared again tonight, moving in patterns I have never seen before. They seem to respond to changes in the weather. The limestone caves might be involved somehow. Must investigate further." Page after page described similar events. Her grandmother had recorded weather conditions, drawn diagrams, and written complex mathematical equations in the margins. Jai-yun recognized some of them. They were related to quantum physics, her own field of study. But how did her grandmother know about such advanced mathematics? She had always thought her grandmother was just a retired schoolteacher. As the afternoon light began to fade, Jai-yun found a more recent entry. "My dear Jai-yun, if you are reading this, then the cottage and its secrets are now yours to protect. Your work in quantum physics is not an accident. Our family has always been connected to the mysteries of these valleys. Take walks at sunset. Watch carefully. You will see what I mean." Jai-yun closed the journal and looked out the window. The sun was setting, painting the hills in soft oranges and pinks. In the distance, she could see the entrance to one of the many limestone caves that dotted the landscape. Her grandmother had always encouraged her interest in science, had always told her to watch the world carefully. Now Jai-yun wondered if there had been more to those lessons than she'd realized. She made herself a cup of tea using her grandmother's old teapot. As darkness fell, she sat by the window, watching the hills. Just before full dark, she saw something. A brief flash of light near the caves, gone so quickly she might have imagined. Jai-yun opened a fresh page in her grandmother's last journal and wrote down the time and date. Something told her this was just the beginning of a much bigger story. The next evening, Jai-yun decided to take a walk through the valley. The spring air was cool, and her footsteps made soft sounds on the damp grass. She carried her grandmother's journal in her backpack, along with a flashlight and her phone. According to the journal, the strange lights appeared most often near Ashton Cave. The cave entrance was a dark opening in the hillside, surrounded by old limestone rocks. Jai-yun checked her watch. Sunset was 30 minutes away. As she waited, she read more from her grandmother's journal. The latest entries mentioned a regular visitor to the valley, someone who always appeared when the lights were strongest. Her grandmother had never written down this person's name, only calling them the observer. The sun began to set, painting the sky in beautiful colors. Jia-Yun looked up from the journal and noticed someone walking along the path ahead. At first, she thought it was another hiker, but something seemed different about the way they moved. The stranger wore normal hiking clothes, but they walked with unusual grace, as if the uneven ground didn't affect them at all. When they got closer, Jia-Yun saw it was a man with gentle eyes and a curious expression. "Good evening," he said, his voice surprisingly soft. "I am Park Do-hyun. You must be Han Jia-Yun." Jia-Yun stood up quickly, surprised. "How do you know my name?" Do-hyun smiled. "Your grandmother told me you would come. She said you would figure things out quickly." He looked at the journal in her hands. "I see you found her notes. Did you know my grandmother well?" Jia-Yun asked, studying his face carefully. "Yes, for many years. She was an excellent observer and keeper of secrets." Do-hyun looked at the cave entrance. "The lights will start soon. Would you like to understand what they really are?" Just then, soft lights began to dance near the cave entrance. They were beautiful, like northern lights, but closer to the ground. Jia-Yun had never seen anything like them. "These are not natural lights," Do-hyun explained. "They come from our research station. We use the unique properties of these caves for our work." Jia-Yun asked. "Who are you really?" Do-hyun's smile became gentler. "I am from a place much farther than Korea or England. My people have been studying Earth for centuries. We chose the Yorkshire Dales because of its special geological features and peaceful nature." Jia-Yun thought about her grandmother's complex equations, the quantum readings in the journal. They were measuring your technology. "Yes, your grandmother helped us keep our work secret. She understood that some discoveries need time and quiet to develop properly." Do-hyun gestured toward the lights. "Would you like to see what's really inside the cave?" Jia-Yun looked at her grandmother's journal, then at the mysterious lights. She thought about all the times her grandmother had told her to keep her mind open to new possibilities. "Yes," she said firmly. "Show me everything." Do-hyun nodded and took out what looked like a simple stone from his pocket. When he held it up, the air around them began to shimmer. Suddenly, the cave entrance looked different, cleaner, with subtle marks around its edges that glowed softly. "Welcome," Do-hyun said, "to your first step into a larger world. Your grandmother always said you would be ready when the time came." She was right. Together, they walked toward the cave entrance. Jia-Yun felt her heart beating faster with each step. Whatever was inside that cave would change everything she thought she knew about science and the world. She was both excited and nervous, but mostly, she felt ready. The inside of the cave was nothing like Jia-Yun expected. Instead of rough stone walls, she saw smooth corridors lit by soft, white light. The air was fresh and slightly warm, very different from a natural cave. Do-hyun led her through the entrance corridor. "Our facility exists in a space slightly apart from your world," he explained. "We use the natural caves as a shield. Anyone who wanders in here only sees an ordinary limestone cave." They passed through several doors that opened automatically. Each one had strange symbols that glowed when they approached. Jia-Yun noticed that everything was designed to blend with the natural rock. It was hard to tell where the cave ended and the facility began. "Here is someone you should meet," Do-hyun said as they entered a large room. A man in simple white clothes was working at what looked like a control panel made of glass. He turned and smiled warmly at them. "Welcome, Dr. Han," the man said. "I am Kim Ta-won, the lead scientist here. Your grandmother spoke of you often." Jia-Yun looked around the room in amazement. The walls showed moving images of the valley above, weather patterns, and strange energy readings. "What exactly do you study here?" she asked. Ta-won walked to a large display. "The Yorkshire Dales sit on a special kind of rock. These limestone formations create natural quantum fields. We use these fields to power our research and our ships." "Ships?" Jia-Yun asked, her eyes wide. "Yes," Do-hyun said. "What you saw as lights in the valley are actually our vessels arriving and departing. The quantum fields hide them from Earth's detection systems. Taiwan touched the glass display, and a 3D map appeared in the air. It showed a network of caves and energy lines running through the hills. Your grandmother helped us map these fields. She had a natural talent for understanding quantum patterns. That's why she encouraged me to study physics. Jia realized. She was preparing me for this. Yes, Taiwan nodded. She knew that someday we would need someone with your knowledge. Someone who could understand both worlds. Jia walked to another display that showed complex equations. They were similar to the ones in her grandmother's journal, but more advanced. These could revolutionize Earth's understanding of physics, she said softly. That's true, Du-hyun agreed. But Earth isn't ready for such knowledge yet. It must come gradually, naturally. That's why we work in secret. Taiwan pressed another button, and part of the wall became transparent. Behind it was a vast chamber where strange ships sat quietly. They looked like drops of silver water, smooth and peaceful. We've been here for centuries, Taiwan explained, watching, learning, and helping Earth's science develop at its own pace. We choose peaceful places like the Yorkshire Dales because they suit our way of working. Jia thought about all the hikers and tourists who walked through the valleys every day, never knowing what was hidden beneath their feet. It was amazing how something so extraordinary could exist so quietly. Would you like to see more? Du-hyun asked. There's much to show you, and many questions to answer. Jia looked at her grandmother's journal, then at the remarkable facility around her. She thought about all the times she had dreamed of making great scientific discoveries. Now she was standing in the middle of the biggest discovery of all. Yes, she said firmly. Show me everything. I want to understand it all. That evening, Jia sat in her grandmother's study, looking through more of the old journals. Du-hyun had given her a special device that looked like a normal reading lamp. When turned on, it revealed hidden text in the journals, written in special ink. The hidden words told an amazing story. For over 50 years, her grandmother had helped protect the alien facility. She had created clever stories about fairies and strange lights to keep people away from sensitive areas. When hikers saw something unusual, she would explain it as natural phenomena or weather effects. Your grandmother was very clever, Du-hyun said, sitting in the old armchair nearby. She understood that people would rather believe in local legends than question too deeply. Jia read a passage from 1986. Today I told the visiting scientists that the lights were caused by gas from the limestone caves. They believed it because it made sense to them. Sometimes the best way to hide the truth is to give people a simple explanation they can understand. That's why you chose Yorkshire, Jia said, looking up from the journal. People here respect old tales and keep to themselves. Yes, Du-hyun nodded. The local people have a saying, what happens on the hills stays on the hills. They don't ask too many questions about strange lights or unusual sounds. Jia found another hidden page. It showed detailed maps of the valley, marking places where the quantum fields were strongest. Her grandmother had drawn them carefully over many years of observation. She never used computers for her most important notes, Du-hyun explained. She said paper couldn't be hacked. Your grandmother understood security very well. As they read more, Jia discovered that her grandmother had helped in other ways too. She had bought land near important sites to keep developers away. She had made friends with local officials to learn about any plans that might affect the hidden facility. Here's something interesting, Jia said, reading from a journal dated 1992. Today I started teaching at the local school. The children love stories about the valleys. Through these stories, I can help them understand why some places should be left peaceful and undisturbed. Du-hyun smiled. She taught several generations of local children. Many of them grew up to become park rangers or conservation officers. They help protect these valleys without knowing the real reason why. Jia touched the journal gently. She built a whole network of protection, and nobody ever knew. Your grandmother understood that the best way to keep a secret is to make people want to protect something for their own reasons. Du Hyun said, "The locals protect the valleys because they love the peace and natural beauty. They don't need to know about us." As night fell, Jae-yun walked to the window. The valleys were dark except for a few farmhouse lights. Somewhere in the darkness, advanced ships were coming and going, hidden by technology and protected by simple local tales. "I understand now," she said softly. "This isn't just about protecting your facility. It's about protecting the peace of this place, about letting two worlds exist side by side without disturbing each other." Do Hyun stood beside her at the window. "Your grandmother said you would understand. She believed that true wisdom is knowing when to act and when to simply watch and protect." 3 days after discovering the hidden facility, Jae-yun was working with Taiwan in the main control room when the warning signals began. Red lights flashed on the glass displays, and strange symbols appeared in the air. "Something is wrong," Taiwan said, his fingers moving quickly over the control panels. "The sun is releasing a massive solar storm. It's much stronger than anything we expected." Do Hyun rushed into the room. "Our shields are having trouble adapting. The solar radiation could make our quantum fields visible to Earth's satellites." Jae-yun looked at the displays. They showed the solar storm approaching Earth like a giant wave of energy. "How long do we have?" she asked. "The storm will reach us in 6 hours, Taiwan answered. "If we can't strengthen our shields by then, monitoring stations around the world will detect our facility." Jae-yun thought about her grandmother's journals. "Wait," she said. "My grandmother wrote about something similar happening in 1989. She found a way to use the limestone caves to boost the shield strength." She pulled out the journal and found the right page. Her grandmother had drawn detailed diagrams showing how the natural cave system could channel and amplify quantum energy. "This could work," Taiwan said, studying the diagrams. "But we would need to place quantum resonators in specific caves. The storm will interfere with our transport systems. Someone would have to place them by hand." "I'll do it," Jae-yun said firmly. "I know these caves from hiking here as a child. I can reach them on foot." Do Hyun looked worried. "The solar radiation will be dangerous. Our protective suits won't work properly during the storm." "Then I'll use regular hiking gear," Jae-yun said. "I'll look like any other hiker caught out in bad weather. That's better than letting the whole world discover your facility." They quickly prepared the resonators. They looked like small gray stones, but each one contained powerful alien technology. Jae-yun put them carefully in her backpack along with her grandmother's journal. "You must place them exactly as shown in the diagrams," Taiwan explained. "The quantum fields must align perfectly, or it won't work." Outside, dark clouds were gathering. The solar storm was affecting Earth's atmosphere, creating strange weather patterns. Jae-yun put on her hiking boots and warm jacket. "Be careful," Do Hyun said, handing her a special compass. "This will help you find the exact spots. You have 4 hours before the storm peaks." Jae-yun started climbing the hill behind the facility. Rain began to fall, and the wind grew stronger. She checked her grandmother's journal, protected in a waterproof case. The first resonator needed to go in Walker's Cave, 20 minutes away. As she climbed, she saw other hikers hurrying down the paths, trying to get home before the storm got worse. Nobody paid attention to her. She was just another person on the hills. In the facility below, Taiwan and Do Hyun watched her progress on their screens. "She moves well in the hills," Taiwan said, "like her grandmother." "Let's hope she's as clever too," Do Hyun replied. "We're going to need every bit of human ingenuity to survive this storm." Jae-yun placed the last resonator in the deepest part of Harrison Cave. Her clothes were soaked from the rain, and her muscles ached from climbing, but she felt satisfied. All 7 devices were now in position according to her grandmother's diagrams. She activated her communication device, designed to look like an ordinary mobile phone. "The resonators are all in place," she reported to the facility. "What do the readings show?" Taiwan's voice came through clearly. The quantum field is stabilizing, but it's not strong enough yet. The storm is intensifying beyond our calculations. Jia studied her grandmother's journal again. The diagram showed something interesting. The caves formed a pattern similar to the quantum equation she had studied in her research. Suddenly, she understood what was missing. The resonators are positioned correctly, but they're not working together properly, she explained. We need to synchronize them using Earth's natural magnetic field. My research on quantum harmonics might help. In the control room, Do-hyun and Taiwan looked at each other. Human quantum theory is different from ours, Taiwan said. But perhaps that's exactly what we need. A new perspective. Jia opened her laptop, protected from the rain in her waterproof backpack. She had brought her research data with her. I'm sending you my equations. If we combine them with your technology, we might be able to create a stronger shield. The scientists worked quickly, combining alien knowledge with human theories. Jia's equations helped them understand how Earth's natural forces could strengthen their quantum fields. It's working, Do-hyun reported. The resonators are responding to the combined calculations. The shield is growing stronger. Outside, the storm reached its peak. Strange lights filled the sky as the solar radiation interacted with Earth's atmosphere. But around the Yorkshire Dales, the quantum shield held firm, making the facility invisible to the world's monitoring systems. Jia made her way back to the facility, carefully checking each resonator as she passed. The devices were now humming softly, working in perfect harmony with the natural energy of the caves. In the control room, Taiwan studied the new readings with amazement. This is remarkable, he said. The combination of our quantum technology and Earth's natural fields has created something entirely new. It's more stable than anything we've achieved before. Your grandmother would be proud, Do-hyun told Jia as she dried off in the facility. She always said that the best solutions come from understanding both worlds. Jia looked at the displays showing the shield's strength. The caves have been here for millions of years, shaped by water and time. Your people chose this place not just because it was peaceful, but because Earth itself had created the perfect conditions for your work. And now human science has helped make it even better, Taiwan added. Perhaps this is why we were meant to find each other, not to replace one kind of knowledge with another, but to combine them into something greater. The storm continued through the night, but the facility remained safe and hidden. The new shield, born from the combination of two worlds' understanding, proved stronger than either could have created alone. A week after the solar storm, Jia sat in her grandmother's garden, watching the sunset. The events of the past days had changed everything she thought she knew about science and the world. Now she had an important decision to make. Earlier that day, Taiwan had called a meeting in the facility. He had shown her the improved shield systems, now working better than ever thanks to her quantum theories. Then he had made her an unexpected offer. We would like you to join our research team permanently, he had said. You would work with us, continuing your grandmother's role as protector of this place, but also helping advance our scientific understanding. Do-hyun had added, you would be a bridge between our worlds, just as your grandmother was. But he would also be more, a scientist who understands both human and alien technology. Now, sitting in the peaceful garden, Jia thought about her life in London. She had a good job at the university, colleagues who respected her work, and a comfortable apartment. Taking this new role would mean leaving all of that behind. She opened her grandmother's journal and read some of the later entries. Her grandmother had written about the joy of being part of something bigger than herself, of protecting important secrets while helping both worlds grow in understanding. The sound of footsteps made her look up. Do-hyun was walking up the garden path, carrying 2 cups of tea. He handed one to Jia and sat down beside her. Your grandmother used to sit here every evening, he said. She said it helped her think clearly, watching the hills as the day ended. Jia sipped her tea. Did she ever regret her choice, keeping such big secrets from everyone? She said the peaceful moments made it worthwhile, Do-hyun replied. watching young hikers enjoy the hills, knowing they were safe to explore without worrying about complex things beyond their understanding. The sun was setting now, painting the hills in soft colors. In the distance, Jai-yun could see people walking their dogs, families heading home after a day of hiking, and birds flying to their nests. None of them knew about the amazing technology hidden beneath the quiet hills. "If I accept," Jai-yun said carefully, "I would need to find a way to explain why I'm leaving London. People would ask questions." Do-hyun nodded. "We can help with that. We could arrange a research position at the local university. It would give you a reason to be here, and access to resources we might need." Jai-yun watched as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there were other worlds, other civilizations. But here in the Yorkshire Dales, Earth's simple beauty and alien technology existed together in perfect balance. She thought about her own research, about the discoveries she could make working with both human and alien science. She thought about the peaceful valleys that needed protection, and the secret that had been in her family for 2 generations. The choice was becoming clearer with each passing moment, just as the stars were becoming brighter in the evening sky. 1 year later, Jai-yun walked through the morning mist in the valley. The sun was just rising, turning the clouds pink and gold. She carried her own journal now, its pages filling up with observations and discoveries just as her grandmother's had. Her decision to stay had led to many changes, all carefully planned. She had accepted a research position at Yorkshire University, where she taught quantum physics to graduate students. Her colleagues thought she chose the position because she wanted to be close to her grandmother's cottage. In a way, that was true. The real work happened in the hidden facility. Jai-yun's understanding of both human and alien science had led to remarkable breakthroughs. The quantum shields were now stronger than ever, and their research was advancing in exciting new directions. This morning, she was meeting Do-hyun and Taiwan to test a new discovery. They had found a way to use the quantum fields to clean pollution from the air without anyone noticing. If it worked, they could help protect Earth's environment while keeping their presence hidden. "Good morning," Do-hyun said as she entered the facility. The hidden door in the cave wall closed silently behind her. The early tests looked promising. Taiwan was working at his control panel, but he looked up with a smile. "Your latest calculations helped us solve the energy distribution problem. We are ready for the first full test." Jai-yun set down her backpack and joined them at the controls. The screens showed the valley above, where morning hikers were already starting their walks. None of them knew that today, the air they breathed would become a little cleaner thanks to technology hidden beneath their feet. "My grandmother would have loved this," Jai-yun said, watching the test readings appear on the screen. Using advanced science to protect nature in such a simple, quiet way. The test was successful. The quantum field spread through the valley like an invisible net, collecting harmful particles from the air. The process was completely silent and invisible, just another secret hidden in the peaceful hills. Later that evening, Jai-yun sat in her grandmother's study, which was now her study. She opened her journal and began to write. "Today we took another step forward in our mission to protect and preserve. The hills are quiet as always, the sheep graze peacefully, and hikers enjoy their walks without knowing that they are walking through one of the most advanced scientific sites on Earth. This is exactly how it should be. I understand now why my grandmother loved this work so much. There is joy in being part of something bigger than yourself, in helping both worlds grow while keeping the peace and simplicity of this place intact. The lights will dance in the valley tonight as our ships come and go. Tomorrow, new hikers will see them and create their own stories about fairy lights and natural wonders. They will take photographs, tell their friends, and add to the legends that protect us. My grandmother was right. The best way to keep a secret is to let it hide in plain sight, wrapped in the quiet beauty of an ordinary evening in the Yorkshire Dales." Jai-yun closed her journal and looked out the window. The first stars were appearing in the darkening sky. Below in the valley, the quantum fields hummed silently, cleaning the air and hiding their facility. Two worlds existing together in perfect harmony, protected by science, nature, and the simple power of a peaceful evening walk.